Welcome back to Plague of Shadows. Last time we got finished with the first set of knights in the Order of No Quarter, and right now we're going to be heading back to the Explodatorium. I say back because, even though we haven't gone there in this campaign yet, this is kind of Plague Knight's original home base before he went to the Potionatorium hidden underneath the city. And according to that minion over there that I kind of blew up, some of the minions have gone on rebellion, so I guess that's an excuse to have them still be enemies in this, despite, Plague Knight being the playable character. And there's an intruder. As for who that intruder is, you can probably guess, but I won't spoil it until we actually get to said intruder. The intruder doesn't exactly have a bio though, so I'm just gonna stick with Plague Knight's bio. Sometimes the bomb is mightier than the sword. Deep in the recesses of his alchemical lab, Plague Knight perfects concoctions both poisonous and explosive. Toxin, disease, and death are his playgrounds. Even his comrades give Plague Knight a wide berth because he spreads more than just the common cold. With an array of mysterious and magical bottles at his side, Plague Knight could be considered the black sheep of the Order of No Quarter. Kind of makes sense that he'd get his own campaign in that case, He's the most, well, rather the least loyal member of the Order of No Quarter, I guess. Pros: maniacal scientific mind, fearlessness bordering on recklessness, and cons: physically weak, short stature, and shy at parties. Yeah, Plague Knight's not the most friendly of the knights, shall we say. And thank goodness, well, maybe not thank goodness, but I'm glad that bio got translated so well into Plague Knight's character himself, being kind of unhinged, I guess you could say. He actually isn't, at least I don't think he is, but a lot of his actions would make you assume that he is, like blowing up your own minions, or, fighting other members of your group thing, the Order of No Quarter, yes. And this stage, probably not the most difficult stage for Plague Knight. I didn't have much trouble with it. But it is kind of where, not at this section specifically, and probably not until the Plague Knight specific section, but it's where you gotta start changing your gameplay, I guess. Like, you can't play like Shovel Knight anymore from here on out. You have to start playing like Plague Knight, which might be a bit of a chore. You can get through a lot of the early game kind of mimicking Shovel Knight's playstyle. Not exactly, of course, there's still some things that Shovel Knight can do that Plague Knight can't, and that Plague Knight can do that Shovel Knight can't. But you could get away with thinking like Shovel Knight early on. Now you need to play like not Shovel Knight, you need to play like Plague Knight. For example, this right here, all this bottomless pit with really no way to get across. Shovel Knight, of course, would have needed a certain relic in order to make that gap, but Plague Knight with his bomb bursts can, and, I will, make a bunch of crazy gaps that you probably shouldn't usually be able to make. And also just the fact that cipher coins are hanging in the air near bottomless pits. That's something we've seen before, but it's so cool to me being able to basically fly as Plague Knight. You could kind of do it as Shovel Knight, but it was more so keeping your horizontal, well, not keeping horizontal distance, keeping your vertical distance and being able to make a lot of horizontal distance in the air. With Plague Knight, you can make both vertical and horizontal distance, so, it's the difference between gliding and flying, I guess. And we get the alchemy coin, which, I mean, it is alchemy, you know, alchemy's in the name. It's not that worthless, I guess. At least to Plague Knight, it shouldn't be that worthless, but whatever. We're gonna get something that I wouldn't say is better for it, but, you know, it's something specific to Plague Knight, so I need to get it. If it were up to me, I'd rather use the alchemy coin than what we're going to be getting. And I'm making it sound like it's such a horrible thing because it actually is very not useful, but I did use it to get a certain feat as Plague Knight in this stage, actually. Well, not in this Let's Play, though. I was playing this game on another, like, file, and trying to experiment a lot with what I could do, like, you know, use certain other items that I don't usually use. Mostly as Shovel Knight, I've been doing that, but, with Plague Knight, I forced myself to use the item that we're about to get in that other, you know, file that I was playing, much to my dismay, because of how bad the item is. And because the bait bomb can break through blocks so easily. Just spam a few of those on those knights and they won't be any trouble, really, as long as you're far enough away from them. If you get close, then they'll actually aggro you and stuff. And we get the Staff of Surging to trade with Chester here. I'm going to be showing it off a little bit, it's just really not that useful. At least in terms of combat. Kinda reminds me of the Dust Knuckles, I guess, in a later stage that we're going to be getting. Because it can, you know, break through blocks and stuff. It gets you some extra air time. And it only does 1 damage to enemies, so it's not all that useful in combat. The Staff of Surging does kind of have, you know, some anti-air properties, and if you use it in a specific way, you can get some extra air time, like jump, bomb burst, use the Staff of Surging while still holding the bomb button, and then perform the double jump and bomb burst again, and you could get some major air time. But it's really not that much more air time than just bomb bursting, double jumping, and then bomb bursting again. So really, it's the most useless of the relics in my eyes. Or Arcana, it's not relics for Plague Knight. You can use it to get that alchemy coin up there, I guess. Wait, not alchemy coin, that's the thing we just traded, Cipher coin. And in this section, it's a lot easier to kind of deal with because Plague Knight doesn't have to deal with a lot of the platforming. He can just fly over a lot of things. We're going to be seeing that in a later stage, that I'm going to be not skipping something, but doing something that I probably shouldn't be able to do, and making myself look cool in the process. But it took kind of a lot out of me to do, by which I mean it was very hard to get right. That's a thing in Plague Knight's story, or Plague Knight's campaign. It's difficult to get things right as Plague Knight. Like, using certain things at certain times, or making sure that your distance is proper when you're away from an object. It's pretty difficult to get down pat, to get used to. But I like it more, for some reason. I like having to be a bit more precise with myself than with Shovel Knight. And I also like being able to hold a charge shot, or charged whatever, and not be very hindered by it. Excuse me, you can still be hindered in that, you know, you're forcing yourself to use a bomb burst whenever you want to use a regular bomb if you are constantly holding charges like I am. But you can get around that because relics do reset your bomb burst charge, so, you know, if you need to throw a regular bomb, just maybe throw a relic, and then you could throw as many other bombs as you want. And just there, defeating that fairy, I think is the name of the enemy. You could have used the Staff of Surging there. Again, works as an anti-air. But the Big Boom just works so much better as an anti-air. I think... Well, no, that's not true. The Staff of Surging takes a little bit less power, as I recall correctly. Or if I recall correctly. Like the Big Boom takes one chunk of your power meter. The Staff of Surging takes like half a chunk or something like that. And then there's ones that take multiple chunks. What is it? Leech Liquid. Yes, that one takes like 3 chunks of your power meter. So if you have less than 2 meter, as in you didn't, well, not less than 2 meter, but if you didn't buy any magic upgrades, or if you just bought one magic upgrade, some of these Arcana are actually going to waste the entirety of your meter. And I should rectify something that I said before. I said that having more meter is kind of a double-edged sword because you can throw out more objects, you know, use more of your Arcanas, but it takes longer for the meter to recharge. When I was replaying the game, I figured out that that actually wasn't true. Maybe. It might take longer, but I tested like the times, well, not the time, but the tempo at which the meter recharged when I had no upgrades and when I had, you know, 1 upgrade and then full upgrades, and the tempo got up faster as you got more upgrades, so it does go up faster if you have more meter to accommodate, you know, for the fact that there's more meter to fill up. And because we can fly, we can get up to this top section and not have to deal with the sort of, well, I wouldn't call it bullet hell because it's really not, but bullet mayhem, bullet purgatory, I don't know, bullet nonsense, I'll just call it, that spider makes us have to deal with. And we're pretty much already at the end of the stage. I think those are the last 2 cipher coins here, and then, you know, we can fight the boss, although there is a bit of a secret before said boss that I'm going to be showing off. It is linked to a feat. I just want to get these cipher coins from this side so I don't have to try and land on that cauldron. Landing where the bits are bubbling, you know, not on top of the cauldron, actually does hurt you and knock you back, so it's smarter to jump at it the way I did. And after destroying this final checkpoint, we may move on to see that there is a little lock all the way at the far end over here. If we blow it up, we get to enter Plague Knight's room, and we get the feat Get Out of My Room. Within, we can see Plague Knight's closet, which has a bunch of masks, one of them being a lot larger than the mask that he's wearing, and we get to see that his staffs on the left there, one of them is also a lot larger than the ones next to it, kind of like he has a boss getup and a playable character getup, confirming that sort of both looks are canon, I suppose. He just makes himself look bigger with a bigger mask and a bigger staff. And this looks familiar. Yes, the boss of the Explodatorium when you're playing as Plague Knight is Shovel Knight. And you might think that he plays a lot like, well, not plays, but he fights a lot like Black Knight, but he actually doesn't. He doesn't use the very huge jumps to get to his shovel drops. He obviously has his relics that he uses, like the Chaos Orb, the Flame Wand, Flare Wand was what it was called, Phase Locket. He even used some Ichor of Renewal to refill his health, which is kind of BS, but whatever. We're the boss in this situation, you know. He can use the items. We're going to be the ones aggroing him and taking him down. And for some reason, he has a much smaller radius on that Warhorn, but he has it. Like, that's an item that you get in the 3rd set of Order of No Quarter stages. But he has it here, so that doesn't really make any sense. And we get to see that his little bags of money fly away, kind of like if you die in the game. See, I actually get to show that off. I didn't show it off in Shovel Knight's campaign, but I show it off in Plague Knight's campaign. If you die, those bags of money will fly away from you. And apparently he had like half a dot of health left and was able to charge slash me. So, yeah, that just happened. But we didn't actually die because of it. We just kind of teleported away somehow, even though Plague Knight doesn't have the ability to teleport. Maybe he just made himself invisible. And we steal back the essence from Shovel Knight. Kind of odd that Shovel Knight has an essence. You'd think just the Order of No Quarter Knights have essences, but whatever. And we get a little bit of nice interaction between Plague Knight and Mona, because Mona still has encountered Shovel Knight. He played the minigame with her where you smash the bottles on stuff. Kind of referencing back to Shovel Knight's campaign. And because we had a bunch of Cypher coins, we can check out our new arsenal. I, of course, will be buying because I don't want it to get to the point where I actually have to scroll down the page in order to get some other bursts and such. I don't know. It's just kind of a, I don't want to say obsessive compulsive thing, but I don't like just seeing that bar on the side, kind of like, I don't know, when you're on a computer and you have a page that's really long, so you have to scroll down. It's just weird to me seeing that in this 8-bit world. Is this 8-bit? I don't quite recall. Maybe it's 16. Anyway, we got some new bomb stuff. We actually got our first new casing. The orbit casing kind of works like a shield in the Mega Man games, where they orbit around you, and if something collides with it, then it'll blow up on them. We have the Frost Burst, which makes it so when you burst, you let little snowflakes come down from below you. Not all that useful in my opinion. We have the Cluster Powder, which I think is pretty useful, but I don't really use it. It causes a large explosion that does multiple hits at once. It can do like 3 hits on one enemy. And we got the Quick Fuse, or is it Short Fuse? Yeah, it's the Quick Fuse. I'm just gonna show a little comparison of the fuses here. Or wait, maybe it was the Long Fuse that I got. Well, the Long Fuse does what is on the tin, basically. You throw out a bomb and it goes a bit farther before it explodes. And I don't need to buy anything from the Magicist because, well, I'm always stocked up on my bombs. I'll just talk to Percy, give him my sheets of paper. And also, because we got a new type of bomb... Oh, I guess we're not going to do that right now. Instead, because we have access to it, we're going to fight Reese. After, of course, defeating one of the knights in the second set of Order of No Quarter stages, we get to encounter these wandering travelers, the Kickstarter added characters for pledging like 1,000 or whatever. And Reese apparently has a crush on someone and wants to fight us so that we may concoct a potion that will make his crush fall in love with him. If he wins, that's what would happen rather. If he loses though, he'll tell us his best joke. And after the Plague Knight expansion came about, I started liking Reese a bit better, but still not as much as the other characters. Mostly because of how dang dorky he gets to be, at least after defeating him, because of the joke that he's gonna tell us. I don't do that greatly in this fight, but I win, and that's all that really matters. I do end up wasting like all of my power though, but that was mostly as a taunt than anything else. And here's the joke from Reese. It's a classic joke. Pretty low tier, but at the same time high tier because of how often people use it. Yes, the Good old 10 tickles joke. How many tickles does it take to make an octopus laugh? Classic. Makes everyone laugh their first time. Well, actually, that's not true. I'm pretty sure I didn't laugh my first time because it's really not a good joke. Anyway, let's head to the Armor Outpost. Since it's, you know, a civvy area, we can't exactly get inside of there right now. And there are some cipher... Was it cipher? Yeah, they're cipher coins. I keep mixing up alchemy and cipher. There are some cipher coins around that we can grab, and Percy apparently needs some cipher coins in order to fix up his catapult here. So, we need 50 for that. We had 44, luckily there's 6 in this area, so we'll have enough to accommodate Percy as soon as we're done collecting all the ones around here. And there's the last one, along with Shovel Knight. Yes, of course, as was with the village, Shovel Knight wanders around here, and oddly, he doesn't wander around as much as I've had in other playthroughs. Like, I've seen him go back and forth between a lot of screens. When I was, like, even playing on my recent playthrough, like, not this one, the extra one that I was talking about, I've seen him kind of walking back and forth a lot through different screens and just not wanting to leave. And I keep on following him because I don't know why I keep following him. I just do. And because we have all 50, I'm just gonna skip through Percy's dialogue and finally get that, whatever it's called, rod fixed, so we can take the catapult and somehow get to, I don't know, wherever treasure is, apparently. And considering what Plague Knight said about Percy before, yeah, we're not getting any treasure. We're actually inside the Armor Outpost now, and we have a bunch of knights to fight, new enemies for Plague Knight to kill here. This is more what I wanted from Plague Knight's campaign. I mean, there's enough of it in the campaign, in my opinion. But fighting some actual good guys, besides, you know, Shovel Knight. Fighting some knights that, I guess, belong to whatever the government in this universe is supposed to be. You know, fighting generic good guys. I want to stop fighting generic bad guys. And we have different kinds of knights. The gray ones are kind of regular. They take 2 hits to kill. If you get close enough, they'll swipe at you. The reddish ones will actually jump into the air and perform downward slashes at you. And the gold ones have an extra invincible dashing attack. That makes them a bit harder to deal with. As you go up in color, the amount of damage that they take also goes up. So, I think 2 bombs for the silver ones, and I forget how many it is for the other ones because they take so dang long to kill. And all these people are going to leave via the aerial anvil. I don't know how exactly Shovel Knight's going to get his armors, but, well, maybe he doesn't get the armors in this version of the timeline. And Chester didn't leave, so we'll just talk to him and buy another relic. Although this isn't exactly a relic. It's the Big Tonic Bag, and with it, the max potions we can carry goes up from 5 to 10. Not really that big of a deal in my opinion, but I'd buy it anyways because, well, I want to buy everything. And we finally get a Trowel Chalice. I was going to say, like, Trowel Chalice or something like that. I don't know. Wait, I said chalice correctly. Whatever. With that, we can visit the Trowel King, but we're not going to be doing so fully in this part. First, we have some other things to deal with, such as Mr. Hat here. Because we caused all of his customers to run away, he's going to be fighting us. Even though we were going to be a customer and, you know, get some extra blast-proof lining for our hood here. But apparently he doesn't like hoods. He likes hats and only hats. Still has the same fighting style as usual, as did Reese, rather. And I do kind of badly. I regain a bit of my health thanks to the leech liquid, but I came pretty close to dying here. On the, kind of going on a little bit of tangent, on the topic of hoods versus hats, I guess I'd say that I wear hoodies a lot of the time, but I prefer wearing hats on my head rather than hoodies. Hats aren't as limiting, I guess. They don't surround the entirety of your face, you know. They just take up your head and that's about it. Kind of a dumb tangent to go on, but because we have gone to the Armor Outpost, as was with Shovel Knight's campaign, we can fight Baz. And Baz is still pretty high on that list of characters that I like in the whole Kickstarter added original character thing. I still don't know exactly what to call that. But he doesn't want to deal with the Order of No Quarter anymore. Instead, he wants to become a scientist. And check out this string theory is such a great line. But, so he's gonna fight Plague Knight now. I guess he fought Shovel Knight first, which is why he, doesn't want to deal with the Order of No Quarter anymore. And as we know, he's a big crybaby. Jeez. And during his second phase, I take a lot more damage than I honestly should. For some reason, I just kept getting close to him, trying to use the big boom. You know, it's an anti-air. I want to throw it up at him while he's swinging around. But still, he's defeated nonetheless. And a little something extra happens in Plague Knight's campaign. Baz doesn't end up crying like a baby, as he did with Shovel Knight. And we can throw bombs at him, just like Shovel Knight could swipe at him. But if we talk to him again, we can actually recruit him. We can add him into our, whatever you want to call Plague Knight's group, the Plague Patrol, I don't know. And now he has a new outfit. It doesn't look bad. Just the whole major green and bright purple stuff going on. Honestly, could hurt your eyes a little bit. But now that we have him added to our group, he'll be hanging out in the Potionatorium if we want to go over there. First, I want to go to the Troupple Pond, though, because we got that Troupple Chalice. And we can kind of do something with the Troupple King, get Ichor. Though I'm not going to be doing that right now. As for the text, Plague Knight is asking about how to dance. Because, well, I guess he wants to impress Mona. But I'm not going to be doing that right now because the dance takes way too dang long. And this part's going on for pretty long already. So instead, I'll just grab the music sheet, head back to the Explodatorium, and hand this over to Percy, as well as check on Baz. I didn't recruit Baz on my most recent playthrough, and there's no way to find him after not recruiting him, so, you know, you should recruit him. It is a pretty major plus, in my opinion, to do so. Well, if you find yourself taking damage a lot, mostly because of New Game Plus, I guess, but if you talk to him sometimes, he'll steal some potions from the Magicist and give them to you, basically filling up your pouch. Next time we'll actually see what we can get from the Troupple King.